Hello, and welcome to our second podcast from High Heels to Happy Feels. I'm Natalie with Immersive Spirit, and this is my sister.
Stephanie, nice to see you again.
And today we are going to talk about what it means to do intention setting. So, before we get into having that conversation, I want to remind you, for those of you who might be new to the podcast or not following us anywhere, we actually have a free offering around this topic that's all about setting intentions with the moon. So, we're not really going to talk about that free course. You guys can take that wherever you want to. We're going to talk more about what is intention setting. So we're just going to hop right in, and I am going to take what is intention setting. So, and this, there's lots of people who are going to have different thoughts and theories on this. The way I think about intention setting, though, is really up against your goals. So when you're intention setting, a lot of people will be like, oh, yeah, that's just a list of goals, the things you want to do over 5 years, the things. No, intention's really about kind of the way you want to feel. Um, so for a good example, since we've had the Paralympics recently, let's talk about that. An intention is I want to win the race, or a goal is I want to win the race. So you have steps and tasks and things that you're going to need to do in order for you to win that race. So that's a goal, and that's a great goal.
Mhm.
However, the intention, the way I want to feel about that is I want to feel like a champion. I want to feel proud of myself. And what are the steps behind that, the solar goals we can put behind that, that will help you reach that intention. Intentions are really everything. We get out of our bed every morning because of the intentions we set.
Absolutely.
I know that there's lots of people out there, and Steph, you can probably relate to me on this too.
Yeah.
When when you get out and your goal for the day is to get your laundry done, or to scrub your house, or to clean out the RV, or whatever, but your intention for that day is really just to maybe check one thing off your list. Well, how many things are you going to get done? One, because you've set your intention and that's where you put that power. So, what are your thoughts about what intentions are?
No, I totally agree. It's that power of intention, right? Which is really the focus of this podcast is what is it? And every morning, I mean, and it differs. You can call it whatever you want to, from societal, religious, whatever. If you're getting up and you're praying in the morning, if you're saying your gratitudes, if you're making your Reiki statement, when I'm saying I will not worry, those are the kind of things that are putting that intention out there, right? And you're starting the flow for your day to set yourself up for success. And we'll talk about it in a little bit too, because it's fascinating, kind of some of the science around it, and that there's actually some proof of how it works with our body. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yep, our intentions are our true north.
Absolutely.
So, whether you're setting them intentionally or not.
Right. Whether you're calling it that, because you may not
Right.
call it your intentions. It might be like my goals for today. And there is a difference between a goal, right, and your intention. Your intention, think of it as something it's borderline manifesting, right? In my mind. I'm because you're putting it out there, but it's bigger than a checkbox, right? It's not like, I mean, your laundry, yes, it's an intention to go through and get this list done. That's the intention. The goal is to check it off, right? Get it off the list. So there's a fine line between that, but your goals are really going to be task oriented. Your intentions are things that are bigger and that you're working toward, and you're making yourself better as a person, as a spiritual being.
Yep, that's a good point. So you keep bringing up the like when we get up in the morning and we're setting our intentions. So just to think about like taking us through an example of that, like I on a monthly basis, and again, this is available with our free loaner course. I set my intentions to the moon cycle just because the moon cycle feels good to me. Cycles and rhythms, rhythm is really what it is. I like following rhythms. I like following seasonal patterns. I like following my birth.
Mhm.
There's lots of patterns that are available that you can set intentions to, and I really align with the moon. So of course I have that monthly intention that I set. But then when I get up on a daily basis, like the things that you need to do to set that intention for your day. Um, so again, this is all in the course, and you can find that on immersivespirit.com. But um, I pull from my monthly list because we get it down to 12 like little micro goals.
Mhm.
those goals are actually task list items that I try to achieve. So I put those on my daily list. And then when I bring that in on my daily list, I talk about how I want to feel about achieving that. And that becomes my intention for the day. And I try to stay with that intention. And that's what I'll meditate on. And that's what I'll journal on.
Yeah.
And it really, like you mentioned, it brings it up to a level of manifestation because I have set my sights so much on feeling like this today. That's
Right.
going to meet this solar goal that I really feel elevated to do that.
Totally agree. It changes your perspective, right? And I know that that's one of those things that we'll talk about today about, does it really matter if you set intentions versus kind of let nature take its course? And it does. It is made just speaking for us and what we've experienced, but immersive spirit wouldn't be where it is in the short amount of time that it is if it
No.
weren't for us being consciously setting our intentions and putting it out there every day that just we are wide open. We are open, and those are the kind of things, just those little things, because then it sets in your mind and it sets you up for success all day long going, yep, bring it on right here. I'm ready for you. Yeah. Yeah. What's interesting too is I think, and just kind of moving through it, the challenges of that though, and I'll be the first to admit, there are mornings where my mind is scrambled. I get that mind clutter going on, right? And I go right to my task list. And by my task list, I mean the true checklist, not the sit down, be intentional for 5 minutes. Five. That's it. I mean, I could be doing it while I'm waiting for the Keurig to spit out my coffee in the morning and just sit there and be putting my intentions out there. And it's time. It's time management and the mind clutter. I don't know. What other challenges do you have when it comes to like really just sitting and taking this into practice, right? Because it's just a habit. It gets to a point where it becomes a habit like everything else in our life.
And I think that's exactly it. I want to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, I'm perfect at this. I do this every day. But that would be such a lie. Like,
Right?
I
We'd be
have
full of crap.
so many obstacles. And I do the daily card reading and you do as well, but there was a daily card reading that I just did a couple days ago. And I was talking about how busy my mind was, and I just had to stop and get it written down. I didn't get it done. Like I didn't even get my mind clutter down for that day. And I was actively thinking about it while I was talking with Spirit and doing the daily reading. And I'm just so spun up and like it becomes a massive obstacle. And I wake up with it in the morning.
Yeah.
Like when I'm trying to do my ground clear protect, I don't have time to do that, to actually sit and think. So while I'm washing my hair with one hand in the shower, brushing my teeth, I'm thinking ground clear protect.
Uh-huh.
It's just complete chaos. So
Well,
taking
okay, so good point about like even doing ground clear protect. Right before we're starting our podcast, I'm like, holy cow, I haven't even grounded myself yet today. And it's not that I haven't taken time. I mean, I was watching a great little series on Gaia this morning. I spent some time talking with my family for like over an hour, chatting with mom. And and then I'm just like, did I just take that conscious step of hello, sink in, root down, clear your head, protect your space? No. It,
that's conscious is a good mention right there
yeah.
because intentions. I have journals. I have journals on journals. We've created our own journal. I have decks and I've got things and I've got things I can write down. And writing is very powerful because you give
Huge.
words power when you write it down.
Yes.
However, if you close the book and don't look at it again or don't actually take the action that you need to, stuff kind of falls apart like that.
Right. Right. It's like, oh, I wrote it down, so therefore it will happen. And it's like, well, you might have to cooperate. You might have to be a part of your success, And I think that's the part that there's so many people that think, oh, it's woo woo, or, and we're not woo woos, we're not gurus, we're not any of the ruse out there, but we are definitely spiritual people. And that intention setting isn't just like, oh, we're manifesting and we're going to go burn it and it's all going to come to fruition. It's like, well, it's kind of like your job. Just because you thought about it and sat down and logged in doesn't mean your job's going to get done. You kind of got to be a part of the process. So but the intentions are huge. And like you said, I mean, that's such a great call out, right? To just, you got to sometimes you got to read through it before you just let it go.
Yeah. So you made me think of an old saying. What are you willing to do, or what are you willing to give up to be able to do what you're willing, I can't even remember how it goes. But anyway, like I'll give up scrolling on social media or watching an hour and a half of the news because that's not good for me anyway.
Right.
And in that hour and a half, I am going to actively take an hour. I'll watch a half an hour. I need to know what's going on locally, what kind of weather, prep the kids, whatever. Um, but that 1 hour, I can really take that time back and set that time, make instructions for myself. In this hour,
Hmm.
I'm going to get my dinner prep done while I'm listening to an Audible. I'm going to think about, podcast, whatever. That's going to be working time for me. But I
Right.
get that hour back. So I guess I don't know how I put that. What am I willing to give up to get something better in return?
Yeah. It's, I mean, I get what you're saying. I can't think of how it would be, but yeah, what am I willing to give up to improve myself is ultimately what it is. What's
Right.
taking up space?
Right.
What's,
What junk is taking my space that isn't
yeah,
necessary?
it's decluttering. I mean, it's the same theory, right? Where we talk about decluttering and all the in different things that we offer too, where it's not just decluttering like, oh, look, I have a bunch of junk behind me. I like this junk, by the way. I do. I own my stuff. This is my space. Um, but it's not just about the physical decluttering. You have to declutter, the people that suck in the things that suck the energy from you, the things that suck your time. The social media. Yeah, of course we're out there. We've got a lot of different social media presence out. And that's part of our job, right? We're working that and we're contributing, I hope, and helping people. And we're also out there reading on those and being helped. I mean, I love to learn. I mean, heck, I just told you I was listening to Gaia this morning and I love the series that I'm following right now. But at the same time, I chose Gaia over watching the news for a few hours because
Which
that
is
was
great.
that was my self-improvement because I learned something and I feel good about that. And I took something away from it that I get to share, right? Because I was like, oh, I am totally sharing this with the group because this is so cool what I've learned. And yeah, it's all about how, yeah, it's repositioning your time. And I think that goes back to that obstacles, right? The time
Yeah,
is
it really it is an obstacle, and everybody sees it as an obstacle. But for as long as we've been doing the spirituality thing for like 30 years, the one thing that has always put me off was someone who tells me, "Well, it will be important when you make it a priority." To me, that's a very condescending,
uh-huh.
like it is a priority, but I have lots of priorities. If you're
Right,
if you're going to tell me that I have to start just defining what's more important,
right.
and it's more like, no, you just need to look at your life and say, what can I get rid of and make space? Where can I make space for spirituality? Where can I make space for time to set my intentions?
Hmm.
And you can find that space, even if it's a little bit. It's not like you have to start taking hours at a time and being, I need to sit in meditation for an hour and a half. And then I need to journal for 2 hours. And then I need to take a salt bath. And then I mean,
Wouldn't it be
like,
lovely to have that kind of time? God.
oh God,
Oh.
I'm manifesting that right now. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, that would be lovely, but it's not reality for
No.
anybody who lives in our world. Like the corporate world mixed with spirituality,
Hmm.
it's chaos. And if you can get 5 minutes and be like, right now, I just want to feel like this, and just write it down and hope to get back later. But if you don't, you wrote it down, eventually you'll get that space opened a little bit wider where you can set
Yeah.
bigger steps.
Because you took the moment.
Yeah, take the
Didn't
moments that you can.
take the moment, right? It's just
Seize the moment.
seize it, seize the day, seize the moment. Yes, I love it. Seize the moment. That might be a hashtag on here. Yeah. Yeah. But okay, so it brings to a conversation then around setting it at a bigger level. So we're setting our intentions. But as
Mhm.
I think about, and I think everyone would agree, politically, environmentally, everything else, and no matter what your view, we have a lot going on in the world, in our states, in the United States, in the world in general. It's interesting because you hear people, well, you can't do anything about it or what. I mean, but we can. Setting that intention at a global level is huge. Um, I think people forget that when you go to, they go to church, or if you go to church on Sunday, or Saturday evening, or synagogue, or you're in your spirit circle in your group, whatever it might be, you're doing something together that is putting out a prayer or a song or a chant or whatever, ritual. Any of those things are all setting intention, and they're all for the higher good of everyone. And that's big. And I think the more people that would embrace that and really get on that train, I mean, sure, we could talk about, I want world peace, and be standing up and running for
All
pageant,
right,
but
Miss America.
we could totally be, I know, don't spit out your soda.
Elbow, elbow, wrist, wrist, wrist.
um we could be talking about that piece. Of course we all want world peace, and everybody wants that calm and that tranquility. But first, how about we all just share a good positive energy and just see what we can accomplish with just sharing a little love. And I think setting that intention and taking it beyond Sunday morning when you leave a building, taking it beyond when you get back in your vehicle to drive away from your circle, taking it past when I leave my own spiritual space in the morning, and saying, okay, that part's done. It's like, no, it's back to that ownership, right? You got to take your ownership of it and be working it through the whole day.
I'll tell you what though, that is hard to do. And I've been really working at this for months
Yeah.
because I get in my car and I'm behind somebody in the fast lane and they're doing below the speed limit. I'm having a hard time being compassionate and loving in that moment. And I stop myself and I'm like, be love, send out positive energy in the world. Like, and I'm finding myself like screaming on the inside. All I'm saying is it takes time.
Sometimes there's a bless and release moment,
Oh my gosh.
and it's the bird will fly once in a blue moon. I'll be the first to admit it, but I'm much better about it because I've learned that it's much more effective and feels better for me to go, oh, thanks, and do this.
Right.
And they're just like, that woman behind us is crazy. But I'm just like, what I really want to say is not fit for television, but
Right.
of
But
course, you and I aren't
it's
known for going gently into any speed zone. I mean, being
but
raised
again,
with hot rods,
over all those years we've been told, but you've got to do it like this and just breathe in and just no.
I so admire the people that can actually do that. I'm like, you're the slow lane
It's
drivers,
amazing. If you could do it, jump right in, get on board with that because that's
right?
we need you here. We need you to help
Honestly,
us with
I've
that.
learned my biggest patience thing, baggage claim. I figure I've conquered that. For me to just be able to sit and wait for the bag and not be like, oh my gosh, they're taking forever and kick cans and all this. Now I'm like, I thought, you know what? For me, that's giant. One step at a time. If I'm waiting for luggage for 15 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'll go find the bathroom, maybe go grab something to drink, come back. I'm like, oh, there it is. Whereas before, I'm like, oh, come on, it was a priority bag, or mine, there was only 10 people or whatever it might have been at the time. And where's my bags? And blah. No, no. So I don't know. Is patience
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
intention go
It's small
together?
steps.
Maybe that should be part of my intention, is learning patience. Is that a goal or intention? Yes.
Yeah, those are the small steps of the journey that we're supposed to appreciate. Again, that daily card it makes so much. This whole week has been about that one daily card.
Yeah.
Patience, the little
Patience
steps. Yeah,
and balance and your path. Yeah. The
yeah.
card I
It's
did
been
the other
great.
day too was the same way. It's all about your journey, your path, and making sure you're present in it, right? And it's the same thing, being present in that intention, being present, taking the moment to do it. Yeah. Yeah. You know, um, thinking about it too, question. And I think we talked about this right at the top of our call too. Being intentional, setting intention versus just the mindset, which many people have of, well, why? Destiny's going to take its course. It's going to happen no matter what anyway. What do you
So
think?
I was just going to ask you that same thing. So I'll just give you my quick flip on it.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I think being intentional. Okay, so for those who are destiny believers who think that the world is going to happen, first of all, I believe in free will. So I think that we were given a path. I think we define that path. There's soul contracts. There's lots of readings you can do on that.
Hmm.
Um, So I think that we have a path, and there's definitely like those deja vu moments hitting your points in time. However, between your deja vu moments are how you get there. So whether your path is the wild snake or whether it's a straight line, your intentions set your will in motion and put you in between. So what kind of life do you want to live? And I think that's how we kind of drive intentions. What are
Right.
your thoughts on it?
No, I agree. And it's fun because in getting ready for this podcast, I wanted to be intentional about sharing information
Hmm.
again to the non-woo-woo part of our audience and give some scientific around it, right? So I grabbed a couple of different articles. I've got some quotes here. So
Awesome.
bear with me. I'm going to read these to you, but I loved this. So the first one is from the National Institute of Health's National Center for Biotechnology Information, and this one came out in 2008. I'll make sure that all the links are in the podcast too. So for anybody listening, you can go grab this information. So this first quote is intention is defined as a directed thought to perform a determined action. Thoughts targeted to an end can affect inanimate objects and practicality or practically all living things, from unicellular organisms to human beings. The emission of light particles, biophotons, seems to be the mechanism through which an intention produces its effects. All living organisms emit a constant current of photons as a mean to direct instantaneous, non-local signals from one part of the body to another and to the outside world. Biophotons are stored in the intracellular DNA. When the organism is sick, changes in the biophotons emissions are produced. Direct intention manifests itself as an electric and magnetic energy producing an ordered flux of photons. Our intentions seem to operate as highly coherent frequencies capable of changing the molecular structure of matter. For the intention to be effective, it is necessary to choose the appropriate time. In fact, living beings are mutually synchronized and to the earth and its constant changes of the magnetic energy. It has been shown that the energy of thought can alter the environment. Cases of spontaneous cures or of remote healing or of extremely ill patients represents instances of an exceedingly great intention to control diseases menacing our life. The intention to heal, as well as the beliefs of the sick person on the efficacy of the healing influences, promote this healing. In conclusion, studies on thought and consciousness are emerging as fundamental aspects and not as mere ep- uh, epiphan- epiphenomena that are rapidly leading to a profound change in the paradigms of biology and medicine,
Wow.
right? I loved that. I was like, I mean, I'm sorry, here's a little proof in your pudding that yes, you know that, I mean, it's the whole expression, mind over matter. If you don't mind, it simply doesn't matter.
Right, but
But then
it's
mind over
different.
matter.
It's different to say that than to actually hear scientists be like, this is what we studied and this is what we found, and here's the photon base, and here's what we've seen as outputs of that, and here's how we've seen that manifest in the ideology behind that.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's really kind of awesome to
It's
hear. Um,
um yeah, because it's like, look, your body, and there's another whole thing I'm working on with crystals right now. But how many crystals are in our body already? And that's how it's so easy to energetically connect with crystals from the earth. Um, then and I'll do another whole thing on that. But our bodies are amazing. Our mind is amazing. How connected we are to everything in the universe is just the more you learn, right? You're just like, oh God, I can't suck this in fast enough because you're like, yeah, I thought I was after this and then I got Gone with the Wind. Okay. Well, this is going to take a little time to read. Now I got to work through War and Peace. Oh my gosh. Could you give me a smaller book?
right.
But it's that kind of thing. You're working through volumes of information to get, and it's crazy, but I loved this. There was another one too before I ramble too far. So this one came from um the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And the Institute, so their mission, because I'd never heard of them, but they
I
were
haven't
actually
either.
found, and I'll put the link out there so everybody can see the history, but it was actually an astronaut that founded this because it was based on his personal experiences in space when he landed on the moon. He was the sixth astronaut to land on the moon. I didn't write down his name, so my apologies. But he had such amazing experiences that he realized that some of the writings of even Newton and so on that were like, we're missing some steps. We're missing some connection here. And so anyway, there was they had a blog post called Three Remarkable Studies on the Science of Intention. The experiments studied found that the three experiments suggest that positive intention proves both the aesthetic and the gastronomical experience of water and foods. Intention seems to harmonize the molecular structure through subtle energies. This implies that mind does indeed impact matter and that the standard model of physics needs to expand to account for this ineffable yet powerful source.
Wow.
Yeah. And they did cool studies. I can't remember what the very first one was, but the second one was on water. And they did
Hmm.
like with ice, and they've got this whole study on it. And the last one was with wine. So I'll the blog, like I said, the link will be in our podcast notes.
I think that has a lot to do, like when I was young in elementary school, we did like a mind over matter with plants, and we
Hmm.
treated one plant horribly, and we treated the other plant beautifully and loved on it and talked positively with it, fed them the same, fertilized them the same, they got the same sunlight, and the one
Right.
that we treated horribly actually did die, which is a horrible outcome for a living thing on our world.
Right.
But the other one flourished, like immensely flourished. And it's another funny thing that you mentioned. I just did a reading last night, and that individual had a spirit guide come through, and they were having kind of some chaos going on in their own life that they just can't get grounded out, and sometimes it feels a little bit spinny. And they, to their dismay, well, not dismay, I don't know if they were that shocked by it, but ancestor came through, like a third generation ancestor came through, and they had no idea that these people had studied crystals and herbs, and so it was kind of an awesome thing. And the ancestor told me to have this person hold crystals like 2 inches off of their chakra and over their body line, and to ground during doing that, and just let that crystal take it out, and then clear the crystal, and then fill the crystal with positive energy and put it back in, which is just kind of powerful because you were talking about crystals in our body and working with crystal, and that just happened to come through last night. So coincidence? I think not.
No, ma'am. Synchronicities
Synchronicity.
everywhere. Yeah. No. And I was just fascinated. Right. And there's more. I mean, there's more out there, obviously available on it. But I think we're just finally getting to that point where, it's cool to be spiritual. We go through phases every generation, our hippie movement and the flower children and that type of thing there. So the age of Aquarius as it came out then and how we're still in it now. Um, but I think it's fun that we see so much available and that crystals, for example, are prevalent, that people are intention setting and manifesting and really working towards all those things and really working towards self-development and recognizing it more as a global and universe and cosmos type thing versus just, well, I'm just going to write down my checklist and work through it today and go to bed.
Right.
Yeah, it really brings a lot to the table. Yeah.
So what are your tips for people setting their intentions?
For me, it- it's that time. It's just time management. I have to set the time, but when you are setting them, be honest about, be bold and be honest about what you want. Don't just be like, oh, my intention for today is just make it through another day. Okay, no. Be some days, yes, you just feel like that, right? But be bolder than that. No, my intention is to kick this day's ass. My intention is that I'm putting out to spirit that nothing gets in my way today, right? I am unstoppable. Money's going to come in. Um, Jobs are going to roll in. Work's going to be seamless. I'm going to keep my joy and take control of that, because the more we feel about that just going into it and setting that, the more the universe is going to give it back, because it's like, oh, okay, all right, she's not just asking to kind of break even, because fine, you want to just ask for that, we'll give you that. If you
Right.
want to say, hey, I need $10, all right, we'll give you $10. Why wouldn't you say, hey, I am asking for and setting the intention that I have enough money that I don't need to check my bank account. That's manifesting, but you're setting that intention that today I'm going to, today is going to be so successful for me that I am going to be working towards that, what I'm manifesting with my budget.
Yeah,
Whatever that is.
exactly. I think the other important key, and you just reminded me of this, is to set the intentions for yourself.
Yeah.
So you need to find out who you are and what you want. And
Yeah.
a lot of us have problems with that because we've been told how to feel. We've been told what success looks like.
Hmm.
We've been told what degrees are going to be the most important or going to be considered successful.
Right.
Well, someone else's success is not necessarily the success that you truly understand.
Right.
Um, so if you need help finding you, Steph and I can help with that too.
Oh,
All right.
absolutely. It's that whole law of attraction, right? The four, I just had it in my head, four agreements.
Yes,
Book the four agreements. It's programming. And it's reprogramming yourself for your purpose. We're going to be programmed to a certain extent in our life anyway by just the things that we do, but you have control over your environment. No one at this point is telling you. And we offer coaching. So we are happy to help you work through that, whether it's working with shadow work, whether it's just helping you to meet and set those intentions, whether it's, and going through the course with you, whether it's long-term mentoring, whatever works, but we're happy to help. So
perfect.
awesome. Anything else you want to add? Otherwise, we can wrap it up. Awesome. So I will just remind everybody then, since I nailed opened this morning, you can find our intention setting, our free course. It's on immersivespirit.com. It's also on the YouTube channel, but the template that we give away for free to download is on our website. So just go to immersivespirit.com course offerings and you'll find it right there. It says free. And we are in progress of working on a few other ones to follow. I think we've mentioned that already with our annual, bigger, blown out, and setting intentions in different ways, right? Different ways that you can do that besides just using Lunar. Let's see, you mentioned immersivespirit.com and our coaching. And did I miss anything?
We are the high heels to happy feels gals.
Yes, we are. From high heels to moving to happy feels. That's us. And we'll be back next week. And what is our topic next week? Let me see here. If I go over 2 clicks. I believe we're talking about mindfulness and presence, kind of continuing this conversation and giving some tips and tricks around being mindful and being present in your everyday life.
Oh, that'll be powerful.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right. I will have all the links on the bottom so you can follow us on all the socials. Of course, immersivespirit.com. If you're not following us on YouTube or subscribe to our channel, please go do that. We would really appreciate it as we will continue to put our daily cards out, share course content, share tips and tricks, do all these different things as we continue to evolve. And from high heels to happy feels, I'm Stephanie
And I'm Natalie.
from Immersive Spirit, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks for joining.